Alright, looks like it is time. Is it? I actually don't think it's time. I can hear myself though, so you guys can probably hear me. We're starting soon. Alright guys, it's really time now. We have a great lineup of matches here. We have Slayer's Boxer against Zenex Suoshin. Of course, Boxer forfeited his match, so he had a pretty good run. He went all the way from the Code B qualifier all the way up to Code S, fell to the up and down matches, came to Code A today, and of course, because of his surgery, had to forfeit, so he's all the way back down to Code B. Who knows what's next for Boxer, but we'll find out later. You saw the rest of the matches there. I didn't really get to talk. Oh, okay, here we go. So Creator versus Skit. Skit's someone no one really knows a lot about. I'm really excited to see what he's going to do here. I always love to see teamless players get into the GSL. He's playing against Creator, who's quite the veteran, so we'll see which one of those will remain in Code A after this. And Pult, I spoke to him briefly before his match. He's going to be up against Sound. He actually said he's feeling pretty confident. He's feeling a little bit down about losing to Thorazane, but either way, he should be fine. And last but not least, we have Killer against Sting, which, you know, I've seen some play of Sting. He didn't impress me too much. You know, I'm not sure if I've ever cast him playing in the Team League, but I have seen him quite a bit in the Esports Weekly match. And, you know, that's how he got his seed. He looked decent, but not as strong as you would have expected from someone to win that tournament. I expect to see a lot of play from Killer that is different from his usual style. He says he's been training a lot, improving a lot. Either way, we're going to jump into Creator versus Skit here. Remember, skipping the first match, Boxer versus Suoshin. So we're going to jump into the game in just a few seconds here. This is the GSL Code A with Wolf. Alright, over here at the top right, a member of the Team Prime, our Red Protoss. He is Creator Prime. No interest today. And down here, on the left side of the map, a Terran player who's currently teamless. It's Skit. And, you know, this is something I'm really looking forward to see. Creator Prime with some of the best PvT in the world. He revolutionized this matchup, in fact, with his Double Forge creativity. And we'll see what he's got in store here. And Skit's going to have to go up against Creator knowing that. He's probably done his research. Who knows what this guy's background is? I mean, I've never heard his ID before I heard that he qualified. He could be on a well-known clan. There was, I believe, an ID next Skit, which, of course, there's a clan next in the Korean server, StarCraft I and StarCraft II. I used to play with them quite a bit, but I don't know if that's the same player or not. I can't necessarily assume that, but he's not on the team Zenex, he's just on the clan. And look at this, see, right away we see something a little bit interesting from this player. He's going gas first in a TVP. And I'm really interested to see what sort of strategy he's going to do against someone, like I said, he knows is very strong in this matchup. He's going to drop his barracks at a pretty normal timing after that gas first. And what will Creator do? Is Creator going to try to cut corners, or is he going to play super safe here? That is the question, because to go up against someone who goes gas first and to cut corners is very risky. We do see Creator coming out very early with his Pylon Scout, wants to make sure what his opponent is doing very early on here. He is going to scout the incorrect direction, but because Skit has not built his barracks as part of the wall, the probe will be able to get into the main base and see what's going on very, very soon here. And the question is, what sort of build will we see from Skit? Is it going to be a Cloak Banshee build? Will he add that second gas? Is this going to be your standard Marine tank? Is he going to do a type of Marine, you know, a few Marines, but mostly Marauder Hellion type push? That's something we've seen with gas first a little bit as well, but only time will tell. Now Creator is going to come in here. He's going to see that it is gas first. He'll see the factory being dropped right away as well. And that's not going to tell him too much. He knows he can't play risky, can't cut any corners. He's taking his second gas right now. But, you know, seeing this factory alone is not extremely telling of what Skit is going to do. So Creator is going to have to throw down a later Nexus than he would like to, and he will very likely go Robotics first, because with limited information that this probe gives, it's just not safe enough to throw Nexus down. There's a reactor, and again, I predict we may be seeing a Marine Tank Banshee all in, but with that reactor, it may be reactored Hellions with Marauders. He may switch, make a tech lab, and go for that Marauder Hellion build that we've seen so popular right now in Korea, especially in the GSL. Sometimes followed up with Medivacs, drop the Hellions to the main while the Marauders go into the front, and then sometimes you just see him perfectly on the ground pulling SCVs. There's tons of different options. And we do see the factory being switched here right away, so it is going to be some sort of Hellion build. There's the starport going down. Now remember, the starport will be for dropships. And look at the production tab. We see a Stargate going down for Creator. This is not his normal style. And in fact, upon seeing a factory, this is a pretty cool choice. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, if he goes Stargate tech, what if his opponent goes Cloak Banshees? He won't have any detection. But it doesn't really matter if your opponent goes Cloak Banshees if you go Stargate play, because you can chase the Banshees down really well and oftentimes intercept them even before they arrive, force an early Cloak. And with that scout that you get from the Phoenix that you get very early on, you'll be able to tell exactly what's up. And we are going to see a switch here, very likely with the positioning of this barracks. And possible Banshees will be produced, although there is a little bit of delay here. Nope. Medevac going down. And, you know, I think this is a weird variation of the build I was discussing earlier. The question is, what variation will it be? He's not making any Marauders right now. He's not using the tech up on the barracks. He may make one Medevac and follow up the Raven potentially. Nice whole position here by Creator, knowing exactly what his opponent might be up to based on what he saw earlier. He not only denies the Hellions from getting in his main base, but he denies the Scout. Now, Skit will know there is no Nexus there, because that is something that the Hellions have granted him vision of. Now, back in his main base, you can see he's continuing to rally out these Hellions. And the Medevac will potentially allow him to drop them into the main, but the Phoenix will spot it all. That'll allow him to get Stalkers into position. His Warp Gate research is done, and the Medevac will not be able to retreat. In fact, it's been spotted. It will not make it out alive. There's nothing for this Medevac to do, and unfortunately, Gas Burst builds are just not very good against Stargate builds. This is exactly why I like Creator's choice to go for the Stargate play. Notice he's not producing any more Phoenixes and will likely make a Nexus soon. Something his opponent has already done. He's actually started Command Center. It looks like Creator is actually going to queue up that third Phoenix, though. And with the Phoenixes, he will be able to continue to scout. Will probably not use any lifts, except defensively, of course. He's going to catch a Hellion here, but he's not going to go in and harass SCVs, most likely, at least not on this stage. He may decide to do that, but that's not something he necessarily wants to do. He can use them offensively to attack, kill attacking units, pick up siege tanks and things like that if he wants to be aggressive. As you can see, he may be indicating with that forward pylon. But on the other hand, of course, using them defensively is the best option when your opponent is going for an aggressive type play like this. Right now we see 2 additional barracks going down. He is going to do a little bit of harassment there to an SCV, but notice he goes for mostly the Marines here. Wants to pick up those big attacking units, those units that are more important to a play like this. Killing SCVs is pretty insignificant considering they're both on one base, and the second commander is almost done. There are mules there. Just killing SCVs is so insignificant in this matchup in most cases. It's only good for forcing units to return home. Going for the Siege Tank here is an interesting choice, but I really like it because that Siege Tank is a very critical unit, not only in the attacks of Skit, but also in his defense. Siege mode has not been started. He is just sticking with a multiple Siege Tank in the army composition type build. You've seen Marine King do this quite often in the past. A little bit of Hellion Harass here. Does take off one. He's deciding not to use any more of his energy, though, and I really like that. You know, I'm not a big fan of Phoenix Harass in this matchup. I'd rather see it used mostly for defense. Once that Marine count gets up to critical, though, you can't really use it for defense. You can't come in and pick up Siege Tanks because there are just too many Marines around. See here, he can't pick up the Siege Tank anymore. There are too many Marines. He can't commit to that, and he doesn't have enough lifts to really engage those Marines. He's continuing Phoenix production, though, something I'm a little bit surprised by. I would have expected him to put his Robotic Support Bay down at this point, but that's something he's chosen not to do here. Continuing to Chrono Boost out units from his next eye, and is starting an Immortal. Then Immortal, of course, can be useful against the Siege Tanks, but still, Combat Shields and Stim are on the way. This is a very Marine-heavy composition. I'd be really surprised if we did not see a Robotic Support Bay thrown down sometime in the near future. We're seeing some harassment here at the Natural. The Marine's a little bit away, out of position. He's trying to get that Siege Tank, and indeed he does get it. Loses a Phoenix in the process, but it's well worth it. Phoenix's cost about the same as a Siege Tank, a little bit less, but they just come out so quickly that it's insignificant to lose a Phoenix for a Siege Tank there. A very good trade for Creator. Double Gas is now being taken at the Natural, and he's continuing to produce those Immortals rather than going for the Robotic Support Bay tech. Additional gateways going down as well. Now remember, the biggest problem with Marines is when they have Stim Combat Shields and Medevacs when you have no splash damage. There's no charge, no forge upgrades either. It's almost as if he's purely relying on these Phoenixes to kill the Medevacs so the Marines don't have that oomph anymore. And the problem, though, is that he's not going to be able to close the distance on those Medevacs with this many Marines out anymore, I don't think. He's continuing to try to do what he can with these Phoenixes, but it's just not really possible anymore considering the Marine count. He's trying his best, and Skit feels comfortable here not even making missile turrets. Combat Shields has finished. Now Stim is nearing completion, as you do see additional refiners being taken. The Twilight Council will be done momentarily here. Now he may go for either Blink or Charge here. Either one is actually, it makes sense. Trying to force a Stim here with these Phoenixes does get a Marine. Nice trade there. Not losing anything, just losing a bit of shields. I like how aggressive he's being with these Phoenixes. He just has to be careful not to lose any of them. Does delay a barracks. If you can kill an SCV to delay a barracks, that is worth it. But if you just kill an SCV simply to kill an SCV, it's usually not worth it. Oh, he forces a Stim here. And now he's going to kill these SCVs and get out after forcing a Stim. He may even force a second one. Indeed, he does. Without losing a single Phoenix, that is worth it. If you can kill the SCVs to force things, like I said, to force your opponent to go back to his main base, force Sims, that's great. Now, Creator is starting to get a pretty tough force here. He's going for Charge, as he does not have very many Stalkers in his composition. Blink would have been an acceptable choice as well, considering how many dropships are out on the map and how much potential Stims he could force. But most importantly, on the production tab, you see the Robotics Support Bay coming out. That is a really, really important structure. He's been waiting a long time to get here, because his opponent's so heavy in Marines, which are basically the biggest glass cannon you could ever have. The very strong... Think about this. Think about this for a second. Think about how fast a missile turret fires. It fires pretty fast, right? You've seen a missile turret shoot at a Phoenix. That's exactly the same speed that a Marine fires. They have the exact same firing speed. Think about that for a second. That's something nobody's ever thought about before. Now you're all sitting at home thinking about it. You're like, wow, that is really fast. Like the Marines, there's so many Marines in there. Imagine it's like a bunch of weak missile turrets shooting up at Phoenixes, shooting at Zealots on the ground. That's what you have. So you need something to neutralize that firepower. It does not have a lot of hit points, so you have to kill many at a time, to put it in the most basic terms. Now you can see he's continued to produce Marines, but he has switched over into Marauder production. Notice that's his second call-down supply use. That shows a little bit of weakness in the play of Skit here. It shows that his macro is not necessarily as good as his opponent, Creator. And I think even he knows it. Of course, he's known for a while that Creator is his opponent. He's researched him. He's looked it up and said, wow, his PvT is actually really good. He's revolutionized the matchup with his double Forge play. Maybe I should prepare some special build for him here. And that's what he's done. But Creator seems to have defended it well. He's preparing now a composition that will handle his opponents quite well. You can see the income relatively even here. The scary part for Creator, though, is he has waited long enough to get that Colossus tech that now Vikings are on the way, and these siege tanks are still very potent. In fact, there are 5 of them in this composition. He's getting a few more out as well, and that's really scary. That's going to be the unit that can allow him to engage the Colossi, and it makes Creator have to be decisive. In a PvT battle, when your opponent has siege tanks, you can't wait. You can't hover around his army and decide, oh, I don't know if I want to fight or not, like you normally can in this matchup. If there are siege tanks shelling your army, you got to decide to get in or get out right away. This push is really scary. A few SCVs here in the mix. It looks like about 8 of them to repair not only the siege tanks, but the Vikings, and potentially even the medevacs. Look at how many Immortals are in the mix for Creator. The problem, though, is will they be able to close the distance when it matters, when it counts? There are so many Marines. They're about to have +1. There are even Marauders in this mix as well. A beautiful position to siege up here for Skit. He's playing this so patiently, as is Creator. And Creator is going to go. He's not going to hesitate here. The siege tank's targeting down the Immortals. The Stalkers do have Blink. That was not the best Blink I've ever seen, and the units here melting very quickly. This is looking really bad for Creator. He only has the 1 Colossus left, but the Phoenixes come in to save the day, or at least attempt to, and it looks like actually, in the end, there are just too many units out. The Phoenix is drawing a lot of that Viking power, and GG. What a sudden end to our game here. I did not expect that battle to go so decisively for Creator, especially not with the amount of Vikings that were already up, but they weren't able to engage the Colossi as well as he would have liked, so that is the end of our first game. And what a game it was. Creator basically scouting what his opponent did, decided to go for Stargate play, a pretty safe choice against Gas First. Whether you face Banshees, you face a drop type of play, or even Hellions, you can hold almost anything. So that was our first game between Creator and Skit. You can see that puts him up 1-0. Don't forget we have Pult versus Sound and Killer versus Sing coming up later on. But we're going to jump into Game 2 between Creator and Skit very soon here. I don't know what map we're going to see just yet. Only time will tell. But I am really excited to see what we're going to see from Skit in the next game. I think, again, I've said this several times, I don't think he feels comfortable playing against Creator. We're probably going to see an all-in from him here. What type of all-in will it be, though? Will it be Banshees this time? Will it be Siege Tank, Banshee, Marine a little bit faster? What could he potentially do? There's a lot of different opportunities for him. The map is going to be Cloud Kingdom. Very interesting choice. A 2-player map, again. And a better two-player map to do an all-in on than, for example, Daybreak. But, you know, I can't count him out yet. He might actually go for a 1-Rax expand like most people are. And oh my god, Caldor is in the building. I knew you'd come. I knew you wouldn't leave me alone. All right, welcome, Caldor.
Hey.
Well, Creator is down, or up a game rather, against Skit, who did a very interesting gas first all-in. And Creator responded with Phoenix play. And we're jumping to the second game on Cloud Kingdom. It should be really exciting to see what they're going to do. I'm so excited to have you.